everybody, it's Jim Hackenberg. Welcome to Whip It Good with Jimmy Hack. Today we're going to talk manufacturing. I introduced the Orange Whip trainer in 2008 in the Orlando PGA show. I started with a cue ball, fiberglass shaft, and a lacrosse ball. And then as time changed and we evolved, now we have custom-made parts all from the USA, handmade right here in Easley, South Carolina. Today's guest is going to discuss how they took their idea, figured out how to manufacture it, and then developed a cool marketing program to get these things out to you to improve your golf game. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to Whip It Good with Jimmy Hack.
I love it.
I've got a great guest today. His name is Martin Chuck. You've probably seen him. If you've seen any of the performance golf videos that coming out, you've seen it all. You've seen his simple strike sequence events that really help all golfers. And it's a great opportunity for a lot of players. So this is fun for me. And if you've been to Phoenix, Arizona to the Raven Golf Club, you've probably seen his Tour Striker Academy, which is a great setup for golf. Now, you know, he's a great teacher. He's a very modest guy, but there's some pretty cool things about it. As of right now, he's ranked as the #1 teacher in Arizona by his peers. That alone is impressive. I mean, how many teachers are there in Arizona?
Doesn't say a lot about my friends, Jimmy.
And then even probably bigger deal, he's ranked #7 by Golf Digest in the USA of golf instructors. And if you've looked through that list, top instructors. So that's got to have been a fun ride for you, Martin. I mean, you've worked so hard. You've had your academy since when, 2011?
Yeah, I moved from Oregon down to Phoenix, and that kind of goes back to the whole training aid thing, is that I went down to Phoenix, started the academy. Things didn't exactly blow up right away. And I gave golf schools with one person in them for a little while until momentum started to build. And now it's been a fun ride, and it's cool. Like we go way back, college golf, man. I'm 56 now. It's crazy. So, we go back 36 plus years.
Yeah, it was after I transferred up to Oregon State. I had started at Arizona State, and then I transferred to Oregon State, and we played a lot of mutual tournaments. When you were with New Mexico State, the Aggies, right?
Yes. Played 4 years there, had a blast. I mean, Brendan Little, Rich Beam.
Very well.
Those guys were my teammates. Sean Haberstroh, Swedish guy, Frederick Anderson. He was a great teammate of mine. And then I just had a good time there. It was like, for me, being a city boy from Toronto, which is a big, hustling, bustling urban area, to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico. Oh my gosh. It was like going to the surface of the moon, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, but think about that. You and I'm from North Dakota, which is almost Canada, and you're from
right.
Canada. So we left some I went to Arizona, you went to New Mexico, but I tell you what, though, it's a pretty good adventure doing that.
Yeah.
But for years, I didn't think about that, with Toronto being, a big time city.
And we got Brian Geiberg over here, another Oregon State alum.
Oh yeah, I know Brian.
Right there. Yeah, he's just poking around, getting ready for his lesson. Jimmy Hack on the line.
How you doing?
Know it.
Yeah. Good to see you.
We're doing a podcast. You're dropping in.
That's awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
I still watch his dad's video from back in the 80s. It was called Cybervision.
Cybervision. I had it.
Love it.
His dad's a beautiful guy. He's been a good friend of mine forever. I think he's 88, going to be 88 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, I mean, obviously his dad had a tremendous swing, but tell us a little bit about your background. You are very fortunate that you worked for George Knudson, and you've met Mo Norman or spent some time with him. I mean, not only Canadian golf legends, they are just golf legends. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
So, it was interesting. As a kid, I loved golf naturally, and started playing golf when I was about 7. And Mo was a unique guy who, when he wasn't playing in tournaments, he'd go hit balls at random ranges. He was like a street performer almost. Like, he'd go hit balls, all of a sudden a crowd would develop around him. And he'd have, quote, the hat out, where people would be throwing in 5s, 10s, 20s, because it was a performance. It was unbelievable. And people felt like obliged to tip the guy, and it was well worth, because what you were seeing was something special. But like when I was a little kid, there was a junior golf development program, and I learned about it when I was 11. There was this little thing in the paper, and my dad was even a member at that golf course and missed it. My neighbor's dad said, "Hey, are you going to try out for that academy?" And I thought, wow, yeah, heck right I am. Had to type an essay why I felt like that was a good mix for that deal. Now, I'm going to step back. I had met George a couple of times because he did a couple of junior golf freebies at a local course, and not that many kids showed up. Like again, it was a little ad in the Toronto Star, and so maybe 10, 12 kids would show up for these free George Knudson clinics. And so I showed up to the couple that he had, and I was like all ears and eyes and listened. And as a coach, when you get a keener that is tuned in, as an adult coach, when a kid's into it, that's about as fun as it gets.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like I've got, like when I'm done with you, I've got this young lady who's just fantastic, and she's that way, and it's like she's locked in, works super hard, and it's awesome. So I applied for this thing, and I got in. That was when I was 12. So from the time I was 12 to 18, before I went to college, 17, I was a part of this deal. Now, as I got into my like 15th year, 16th year, I was playing more tournaments, so I wasn't around that much. But from the time I was 12 to say 15, I spent a lot of time with George at the National. He was there available for the kids, like his little development campers. There's probably 12 of us from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day, Monday through, Friday. Like he just donated that time. So here's this golf legend who started this thing. And, we were there just, tuned into this awesome dude working on things. It was a blast. And then we would do some work for the course in the afternoon, like caddy or something. And I would say, the caddying, like when you double bag for money, like I was greedy. I wanted to make some money. I would double bag. That's heavy work, man. Like hustling two bags around a full on up and down hilly golf course.
Oh,
Good work. It was good for our hockey careers, I got to know George really well, and then he broke away from the National when I was 16 and started his own range. It was a private driving range. So just north of the city, actually closer to my house, not that I still went to the National pretty much every day. He had this cool range, so you had to pay an annual fee to be a member. And that just kept the kind of riffraff off. Like he didn't necessarily want the dude who just had, didn't know how to golf and showed up. He would take you, but you had to be a member and you had to go through a training in order to even hit balls at this range.
yeah.
And so he had enough people that were interested to do that because it just people that wanted a great grass deck.
Yeah.
They knew that it was a golfer's place. It wasn't like a newbie's place. So there was a niche for that. And then he hired like Brendan Little, myself, anybody who was interested that he had trained could work at this place. So my job was basically sell hot dogs, hand out range balls, walk the range, and answer any questions if they had them about their swing technique. So it was a dream job, Jimmy. Like he paid us well. Like, so back then, I want to say when I was 16, it was $15 an hour. Like that's a lot of money back then. You know what I mean? Like that's, 40 years ago. And so, I would make sure like one of us, there's always two people on staff. So one of us would kind of stay in the little modular clubhouse that he made, and then one of us would walk the deck. And on weekends, there'd be three of us there. And so, somebody would be struggling with whatever, we'd step in and talk about grip and George's basic fundamentals that he taught us kids. And, it was neat. It was a great way for me to, I wasn't nervous to talk to people.
Yeah.
And then if I saw big, funky paths that hit slices, I tried to help them. If I saw big hooky things, I tried to help them. And then, we got into, developing golfers that had more fun, and that was it. And then unfortunately, in 1989, George passed away. He passed away at 51 years old, man.
I recently looked into that. That was amazing.
Like you and I are older than that now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Right? Like I never feel, personally, I don't feel like I'm ever as old as George. Like back there on the wall up there, there's Where's Masters flag and Darren Clark's British Open flag. There's a picture of George right there. Okay. And like to me, he'll always be that iconic dude that like held extreme respect with the junior. Like we didn't mess around. Like he was Clint Eastwood, man. Not that he shoot us with a 44, but he demanded respect, and you gave it to him because he was just, you knew he was there for you. And he was calm in his demeanor, and he spoke really like this, and you're locked in, and it was just awesome. And I just wish he, in after college, when we all try to play our professional little careers and stuff, and I had a 3-year cup of coffee playing the Canadian Tour and some Nike stuff, and it's like, man, I wish George was still around to either kick me in the ass, help my technique, whatever, because he was that guy. Like zero excuses for George. Like he's not going to pity you. There's no pity.
Yeah, and he would have been the perfect guy to communicate with while you were doing all that. Because To
you
this
know.
day, his book, The Natural Golf Swing, and his video he filmed in Bermuda, I have it on
Yeah,
tape. I watched it on a VHS, and it's incredible. It's
right.
I could watch it endlessly. And
Yeah,
George Newton is probably the closest I believe that's the destination I would like to get to is the way he swings it and the way he approached it. And it was
right.
awesome. So that's got to be just a tremendous experience. So good for you. I've always ever since you told me that I've always go, man, that is unreal how great that is.
And in some way, I feel like this, like he lives on through what I do because every school I give, like almost every single little presentation in the camp that might be 15-minute presentation on something has some elements of George in it,
Yeah.
has some phrase he used, swing the club from a starting form to a finishing form in rhythm and balance. You know what I mean? Like there's these little things that like even this, I had a high level junior this morning and the routine was basically the routine, George taught us as a kid. And so, like, I think that stuff lives on. Like, when an impactful teacher
Yeah.
has and I wish it would have just been for more years. It was too bad that, he stopped playing in his, early 40s and then he started to coach. And it's like, man, it would have been awesome to see him coach a little longer. But to be honest to me, he was trying to get ready for the Champs Tour. Like, he was practicing and he wanted to get out. He played in one event, like the partners thing, and then he was too weak. And then unfortunately, he passed away. But he was geared up to play the Champs Tour again. And I'll tell you a funny story about that. So one day I'm at work at his range, and this like really big carton from Titleist comes in, like not like a club box, but like a proper big box that came in, and it was one where I had to go, hey, help me lift this thing. Okay, so we brought it in the modular, and and it's got all kinds of packing material, and we're snapping little, things holding it together, and then I'm like, what's going on here? There is 10 irons of every, like there's 10 wedges, 10 9-irons, 10 right on up to the 2-iron.
Wow.
Okay. All of them built with Brunswick 7.0 shafts,
Yeah.
with his like super, super cord miserable grips that would tear hands up basically. And
Wow.
I'm like, what's going on? He goes, well, Titleist is sponsoring me and they're sending me these clubs and they build 10 sets exactly the same. So this is what we got to do. George goes, let's go hit them. I'm like, okay. So like we're walking out with this silly thing of clubs and just right by the modular, right, like the first hitting thing. And it was a quiet day. So he hit a couple of wedges and he threw one to the one pile, hit another wedge or two, threw that to another pile. So pretty soon out of the 10, okay, 3 were keepers, 7 were pack up and send backs. Okay, like so the whole went right through the set that way. So he hit one or two, like he hit one ball, 2 balls tops with one of the club, and then he knew out of those 10 which one he was keeping and which was going in the pile to be returned.
He could
And
feel that.
so, oh,
Wow.
totally, like right away. And this was apparently the same exact makeup.
Wow. Well, I mean, he sounds so much like his idol Ben Hogan. I mean, I know he watched Ben Hogan feverishly, but
Right, right.
it's kind of a similar story you might hear from Ben Hogan or something.
Yeah, let me tell you, packing up those clubs wasn't any fun, bud. Was not any fun.
Well, hey, let me ask you this: do you think that you and Brendan got the jobs because he probably saw a little bit of himself in you guys as young golfers wanting to make it?
I just think it was a natural thing. Like he knew, like he taught us for a few years, right? At that point, like 'cause me had been 4 years, and then I knew him a little bit before that. Brennan was 3 years. David Moreland was another. Probably David Moreland over the years, on and off the tour forever. David was another employee there. So all of the little like keeners that he taught, he just assumed. He said, "Hey, do you want to come do this and make some money?" When you didn't have tournaments. Like there was a couple, like his son Paul was there all the time. Like he was kind of managing the joint. He's a few years older than us. There's one other dude, his nickname was Kiefer. I can't remember what his real name was. But there was like 2 older guys that really kind of kept the lid on things. And then it was like Brennan, me, David Moreland, a few other dudes, Greg, another college golfer that George had some work with. But anybody he'd worked with that he felt like was competent in expressing the coaching he taught us to walk the line. Like we weren't going to go talk golf machine to these students. It was basically George's lingo. You know what I mean? And he knew we knew it. And he said, hey, when you see this, say this. When you see that, say this. And so, we would look, and all we were looking for basic things, were their hands on, jacked up, was the ball in a reasonable spot? Do they have a bit of structure in their arms at the top? Was their backswing fast enough?
Yeah.
Like a lot, you're like, what? Was their backswing fast enough? George say, yeah, you always got to swing that thing, man. Swing that thing so it creates its own structure. Kind of like your orange whip. Like you can't swing the orange whip real slow, or I mean, you want to swing it slow, but if you swing it too slow, it doesn't make any sense. That's why your product is one of those things. It's like you get the inertia going, and it kind of sorts itself out.
That's,
And George would have loved the orange whip. We'd have had buckets of them at the range.
that's great to hear though, because it does. When I read his book and when I listen to him, it does seem to fit, and that's what I was always hoping for. But yeah, there is a great point to that because if you just kind of slowly take it away, you don't have the structure, you don't have the momentum, you don't have the load. And
Right.
he's a big guy into loading up and then unloading everything at that target. That's what I've always admired about how he did it.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
cool.
100%.
So, so what's interesting, I believe, about us, we met each other probably I transferred up to Oregon State January of 90 and
Hmm.
started playing right away. I had never signed a letter of intent at ASU because I was a walk on to the team. So I got to start playing right away. So I would say spring of 90 is when we met. So we played, did you graduate in 92?
92.
So same time. So basically, pretty similar pathways. Like we both play the mini tours for a while. We both try to get out there. But as we're doing that, we're trying to improve our own game. We're trying to learn
Yeah.
the game. You had a great beginning, but you kept learning more and adding more. And then what was also kind of unique is you and I both worked in the golf industry in Phoenix and the Palm Springs area. We
Yeah.
clubs. So I'd run into you periodically here and there. And then what was really cool when I was coming up with the idea for the Orange Whip, you were coming up with a tour striker. So
Yep.
it's fun to kind of throw back and forth some ideas. Oh, now, yeah, is this one of the originals? Is that
That
what
is the
you found
that
out?
is the original.
Look at
That-
that.
Look at that. That's welded, it like added weight in the back. That was it. This was a Jerry Barber shankless.
I
See
remember
where
that.
you know what I mean? So
Wow.
that's the original tour striker.
So did you just use a hand grinder or not a hand grinder, but probably
Well, you know what? It's kind of polished up a wee bit because I hacked the crap out of this thing, okay? Then and I got it functional, but then a Marshall, like a Ranger guy that worked at Arrow Creek where I was the pro,
yep.
kind of cleaned it up and kind of finished it off for me and got it looking a little nicer. And like he's the one who like put the weight in, extra weight in because I couldn't have burnt my hand off. But he got this to where it would work. And so when I got this in the hands of a couple students and they looked at it, and then intuitively, they kind of figured, hey, the only way this thing works is to have it delivered a little bit that way.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh my gosh, I went to my wife. I'm like, hey, babe, I think I got this crazy idea that worked. But the funny thing was, like, when you look at it in this position, it looks pretty simple, right?
Yep.
But if you delivered it like handle high, toe down, like a lot of steep poor golfers will deliver it, you could get the loft on the ball and make the ball reactive off the toe. Then I thought, oh, I got to take that away. So
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
carved the toe away. So
Yeah.
you couldn't hit it a successful shot there. You had to have the grooves parallel to the ground. And then just for the symmetry of it, I took a bit of the heel off. That's why the face looked more like a rounded thing here,
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was a cool hit for a while. We still sell them, but it's not like crazy like it was, 2011 when it was an infomercial mania,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I commend about the Orange Whip. Like your thing's it's like a staple of golf, and it's and I'm sure it's maybe not as crazy sales as it once was, but it just keeps on trucking, and you've expanded your lineup, which is great, and it's just awesome to see.
I had no idea if I'd have 6 months in it, and then be done, but we're into the 18th year, so it's moving along. And actually, speaking of your first prototype, this was mine. This is where the orange ball would be. I got washers that I could adjust. It's a Home Depot rod. I got a fishing grip, and then I got washers on on the butt end of the grip here. And it was just through trial and error and finding out. I probably don't have a full screen here, but
Oh, I can see it.
when it was evenly balanced, that's when it kept the people that would swing it on plane and in balance. So this was really a tool that I only developed purely for teaching. It
Yeah.
wasn't a thought of a product. I was just tired of watching my students, and I'm sure you get some beginners or people who struggle with the motion that they just are having trouble getting past that. So this
Right.
was bad, but when I brought this thing out, and I mean, it looks funny and it is odd. And I got a little duct tape right here.
Amen, brother.
But after my first few lessons with this, I had the first few people who try to go, "Hey, can I buy that thing from you?" And I look at it and I go, "You buy this thing?" And
Yeah.
but they liked it, so that's when my mind started tuning in. And again, similar time with you, and we started comparing notes and ideas about how to go about
Mhm.
doing it. So that's where I'd like to go next. Like, so when you had this idea, you developed it. Was it a teaching tool strictly, or did you have it as a product when you started grinding down and adding weight to it?
So it was obviously like I never try to make anything that's for teachers. Like to me in the business, like people call me all the time, "Hey, I've got this idea." And I go, "Great." And I'm sure you get the same. They probably call you, then call me, right? We get the call all the
Exactly.
time. And I say like the teaching industry, it's a small group of people, really.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to make something for like thousands of coaches out there, I wouldn't do it. But if you're making something that's like has mass appeal to millions of people and it happens to be catch on, hey, now you got something. So when I had people try it on my range tee and I could see them changing from what I knew their swing was, then
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay, this is making people do something different. And so, that's when, and it wasn't really, there was some strokes of luck in it because it's just a club head and a shaft and a grip, right? And then my big kind of sort of break was a stupid email I sent to Tom Wishon. Do you remember Tom Wishon, the club guy?
Yeah.
Sure. So for those watching and listening, you wouldn't know who he is. But you might know, like, you might see some clubs Tom was on because he was a famous club builder guy in the industry, like golf nerds like me knew who he was, and he made clubs. And he had these books, like fitting books, club repair books. And so as a golf coach nerd that I was, I had a couple of his books. And in the back of the book, there was like an email at AOL.com or something for Tom. So I sent him a note. I said, "Hey, I think I have this fairly novel idea for a club head as a training tool. Would you be interested in helping me design it?" And so he respectfully said, "That's not really, but here's a guy who is for hire that does club head design, who's got a lot of pedigree in the industry." And it was a guy named Mark Myram, and Mark was from sort of your neck of the woods way up north, not Canada North, but up there. And so Mark had worked for, at the time, Tour Edge, Wilson, different companies for hire making club heads, and he designed some very famous, effective, like some of the Tour Edge fairway woods at the time were rocket ships. Like that was his design, changing the CG, blah blah blah, a lot of success. He worked for Titleist for years. He worked for Hanma, etc. Anyway, Mark goes, "Well, hey, I've seen everything. Chances are what you have isn't novel. Let me just save you some time and energy." That's what he said to me, like this curt, "Okay, inventor knucklehead, you're not very smart. I'm going to shut you down real quick," which would have been fine, right? And so I send him this thing, obviously make him sign an NDA because every new inventor is like cloak and dagger, right? So he signs it, he sends it back, goes, "Dude, I've never seen that before. It's kind of crazy." He goes, "I am." I'm happy to design this for you. We negotiated a pretty reasonable fee. But the most important thing was he was very connected with the foundries in China. Because in the United States, there's no clubs made.
No.
Everything is founded, the foundries are overseas. They might be assembled and built here. And a lot of it, obviously a lot of the design happens there. But, what happens, you still see me okay, buddy? Hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Because a phone was coming through, a phone call was trying to come through. So basically, I was able to connect right to a foundry real fast and get these things made, and we started selling them. And then next thing you know, a marketing company approached me and we're selling like a couple 100,000 of the damn things.
That's awesome.
So
That was cool too because I remember the early days too because I was making them in the garage. And
yeah.
when I remember talking to you saying you found this foundry, they produced them, they boxed them for you, and they just shipped to your door, and then you'd be getting them out. I was like, God, that sounds really nice
Right.
to be able to do
I
that.
think I had one of your first orange whips, like obviously not the ones on the wall in your office, but what was that fellow's name up in Oregon who was the rep? Your buddy.
Who was that back then?
He- Back then, I mean, this would have been 2008. I
Yeah,
had an orange whip.
yeah. Who did I have help me then? I don't know, but well, I may even been at the PGA show. No, because you started in '09, right? Yeah. So
I was, yeah. So I moved to Oregon December 2007. And I was literally January or February of 2008. I remember this distinctly, dude.
Oh, it
I
might be.
was I was buying some. He was a rep, but he was a friend of yours. He wasn't just a rep guy. He was some guy that you were connected with,
Yeah.
and he showed me this thing, and it was your orange whip, and it was kind of janky a little bit because it had like big bolts in it, and
Yeah.
this little orange sticker over the bolt.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the bowling, you had the cue ball on the one end.
Yep.
I wish I would have saved that damn thing. It was awesome.
I joke with people who still have them, and that's the one. I'll get to those in a minute because I think you'll appreciate what I got back there. But yeah, my original one, I have people come up to me and ask me to sign them because they still
Oh,
have the original one.
that's awesome.
Well, but yeah, it might have been Mike Levitt, who's actually originally from Vancouver.
Mike Levitt. Maybe.
Early on, but yeah, it's been interesting too because watching kind of our parallel lives going with these products and how they come and go. But and you as well, you produce many good ideas. You've got patents on these other ideas, and but it's really for the love of the game, which is really my basis behind it.
Yeah, like all my stuff, like my gizmos in my studio, like they're basically for when I'm teaching, and I teach a ton. You know what I mean? Like I teach a lot of humans, and I look and I go, okay, how do I expedite the process in this? And naturally we use orange whips. We like the smart ball is probably my most successful training aid, the silly little ball and a lanyard between your forearms,
Yeah.
right? Like I thought that was a dumb product. It's been out like over 10 years now. And it's like it's every month. It's just a constant seller. And it's also the most knocked off product. And that's a big problem in our industry. It's an awful thing, like how, overseas people can ship stuff right into the United States, knock off Ma and Pa kettle over here in the, and just steal their intellectual property,
Yeah.
ship it in. The shipping companies are getting paid. You know what I mean? The Amazon and the eBays are getting their little piece for the transaction. Mom and Pa Kettle, that's me,
Yeah.
is getting ripped off from some company overseas that goes, hey, here's a successful product. Let's create a marketplace and knock it off. And then I shut them down, but by the time I shut them down, I've shut off hundreds of fake accounts. Hundreds.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Oh, hundreds, dude. Yeah. Crazy.
Because we've gone through that too. When we started getting pretty heavy on Amazon, they
Yeah.
decided to bring on an Amazon version made in China, which ours are still made here, but the made in China. But I've been fortunate because I have a patent on the mostly related to the counterbalance effect of
Mhm.
so they can make a ball on the end of a flexible shaft and a grip, but it's not counterbalanced. You could swing theirs in a figure eight, but it won't do it won't keep you on plane or in balance. But we fight against that constantly, and fortunately, the exact copies can't come over, but the inferior ones are there. And then what people see is, oh, this is much cheaper. I'm going to get this. It's just like an orange whip. So
Right.
it's a struggle because it's complementary in the sense that they're copying something that we've done,
Yeah.
but then it's affecting our business and our livelihood. So it's a weird experience for me because I poured a lot of time and passion into it, but again, I'm very grateful. It like you, this has changed my world, and it provided a whole new opportunity, let's say. So
Yeah.
in that regard, so there's good and there's bad, but like you said, there's always going to happen. If you have a good idea, they're going to take it, and your smart ball is a great idea, and it's going to be everywhere.
I know it's ridiculous. It's hysterical, but whatever. I mean, people have bigger issues than worrying about that, but it is a drag that
Yeah,
and it's not just a smart ball, it's every industry,
yeah,
every little nook and cranny of shipping. And everybody's in on it. That's the sad thing. I
yeah.
mean, but anyway, I don't want to be a bummer.
No,
What
no.
else you got? What else you got for me, buddy?
So I want to show you this. So you can see on the wall, it's like a nice, similar like what you find at a country club with the club champions and all that.
Right.
I had something happen a couple years ago that blew my mind that I needed to produce this display, let's call it. So I'm gonna get these down real quick, and
Yeah.
I think you of all people is gonna really dig this. So let me start here. Now you had talked earlier about your first orange whip, and that was this one where I've got it's actually a weight that I've made, but there's a janky sticker on the bottom. It's a
Yeah. That's it, baby. I had that in my bag for a long time.
And I drilled out all these lacrosse balls in a small workshop, which, if you've ever drilled rubber, it's a terrible smell. And when you do hundreds of them, it's a bad experience. And then this is that cue ball.
Yeah.
And
I
I got these in Massachusetts because I was going to go to my first PGA show with a doorknob on the end with lead weight in it. And I thought, I can't go to the show with a doorknob on the end. So I found this company in Massachusetts that was going to provide for me these balls at a good rate, and they were going to drill the holes, put my logo in. So I said, I'm in. So yeah, this was my first one, and the only thing this grip is is a lambkin, which I liked, but it was made in Mexico, and I wanted everything made in the USA. So I went to Star Grips, and we've been with them ever since. So
yeah.
so this is the 2008 version. This is the one at the show.
We use Star Grips too. They're literally 15 minutes from my studio.
Yeah, we've been to their facility, and it's great. It's so good.
Yeah.
So here's what happened a couple years ago. A girl I was dating, she had a set of clubs, and in the club, she had a thing called the Superflex. It's probably
Yeah.
you. And this is out of New Mexico.
Okay.
I see this, and I take it out, and I'm starting to swing it back and forth, and it's got a flexible shaft like an orange whip. It's got the green Victory grip on it,
Yeah.
and it's got a cylinder on the end, which is pretty similar to what a golf an orange ball would be, let's say. And I go, this is an orange whip. And it must have came out in the 80s with this grip. So it had a patent number on it. So I look it up, and the guy's name is Stephen Rhodes. And Stephen Rhodes, when you look up a patent number, it gives their birth date and everything else, a lot of details, like where his address and everything. Well, his birthday was October 25th, 1947. I go, well, that's strange. I had then also I've been heard about this from Ernest Jones. You probably know Ernest Jones,
Yeah, of course.
and he's just a legend. This was made 100 years ago. It's a steel ball, coiled spring, hickory shaft, and a leather grip. And I was so
Oh,
fortunate to find this. But same exact philosophy. It's just you're swinging a weighted ball on the end of a chain or a flexible shaft,
yeah.
creating that loading and unloading of momentum. Well, I quickly raced to my computer. I Googled Ernest Jones' birthday, October 25th, 1871 or something. My birthday is October 25th, 1967.
No way.
So three guys, golf pros, all made the same basic idea, all have the same birthday.
Dude, my birthday is October 30th.
Oh, is that
So,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Another Scorpio.
right?
Yeah. So it must be something in that window of time with the planets and the stars
I don't
aligning.
know. I don't know, but I was kind of like inventive. There was a couple gizmos. I was way before the Tour Striker Training Club came out that I was trying to, I thought about when I was a player, I loved that swing fan. And
Yeah.
I just wanted one that was just, you could fold it around the shaft and warm up and stretch out that way rather than that big contraption that basically teaching pros would only have.
Yeah.
And then I had this other gizmo and I just didn't have the means, the capital to go down the road or the know-how back then.
Well, that's true. I mean, we both have probably had a lot of ideas, and a lot of golf pros have ideas, like you had mentioned.
Yeah,
Calls all the time. I get calls all the time, but and I love the inspiration and the energy, but
right.
it's hard. I mean, it's you really I think to make it happen, you got to do it on your own and find your avenues that way. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, this has been great, Martin. I really appreciate the time. I know you're busy out there in Arizona, but it's always fun to see you, always fun to talk to you. But like I said, I think we're kindred spirits in the sense of our golf passions align pretty closely, and just kind of watching how you've developed and how you've provided great advice for me along the way also. So I really appreciate that and look forward to many more years talking about this kind of stuff.
No, dude, we could have this could be a weekly conversation, honestly, because it's the like we all we did was go like to a little bit of what really, how to make the sausage. Nobody really knows, right? And so, and so like some of the everybody thinks, oh, Jimmy's private jets, just you go through that door right there and then the back, right?
I wish.
And it's like some of the, I've had some great years and some massive failures and some, it's just there's ups and downs in the darn business. You learn so much about things. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur and a small businessman. In my case, small businessman, businesswoman, my wife, is that, you make these fumbles and then hopefully you learn from them and you develop better systems and ways of doing things. And then you surround yourself with great people like you have. Like you've got some great people surrounding you. And that's what, you've provided a like very viable, life for people. You've created jobs, and so have I. I've had
Yeah.
coaches and people at the warehouse, and created some pretty cool things. And to me, that's an important deal. Like, you're contributing to society through a stupid game
Yeah.
called golf.
Yeah, half of
You
my
know,
staff is from North Dakota, so that's half the state right there.
right there you go. Yeah. Well, hey, pal, it's been great seeing you and great talking to you. And like I said, we can do this whenever you want.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, I'll let you know when this comes out and how you can check it out if you want to see it. But yeah, I'm excited about all this. And say hey to Stacy for me. I hope you guys are having a great time down in AZ.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right. See you.